Let's do urban sketching before it's freezing! Sunshine and blue sky! Woohoo! In this video I am going to share with you the 3 things you should focus on when you try to make some value thumbnail or urban studies.
Oh, cool! I always wanted to know how to do them!
I thought this could be the perfect weather to try to make a value thumbnail, this kind of quick studies of a place trying to simplify the space and the light. So I'm going to share with you a bit how I search for a subject, a scene which could be nice for painting.
She said the haunted always dims too bright, and folded, cut so fine, uneven sided can't let go.
For this kind of value thumbnails and study, I really like to use this Derwent ink black watercolor pencil along with a water brush. That's the only case when I use the water brush. So the first thing, because we are talking about value thumbnail, is paying attention to the light, and we are going to search for an interesting light and shadow pattern, and especially what I call a yin-yang effect.
What the hell is she talking about?
You know, the yin-yang is this symbol with a perfectly harmonious shape, white at one side and black in the other side. Perfect proportion, curvy, appealing shapes, and also you have a white dot on the black part and a black dot in the white part. And this is exactly what we are looking for to make a good value thumbnail or urban study, a perfect balance between lights and darks, and also this kind of a bit of a light in the dark and a bit of the dark in the light, and also paying attention to the proportion, and so that it's not just a straight kind of black thing as a dark area, but that this area would have an interesting shape in the image.
Oh yeah, I got it now!
So the idea is try to pay attention to the patches of light in the dark and dark in the light. For example, in here you have the perfect example of this kind of white dot on a black shape, whereas when you find a shadow casting on a light surface, for example in here, my own shadow, it's a kind of a black dot on a white surface. So this is especially interesting because it's a strong contrast, and it's not just a dark wall because it's separated with several pieces of light in here, so it can be interesting in your painting because it creates several points of interest and of contrast. Look at this shadow pattern, for example. It's a bit like my yin-yang. Nice and curvy. Dark and light and passerby and dark and light, and see how it's interesting and how the passerby change of value depending on the place where he is and the light. This could have been a nice scene to paint with the passerby, even several versions, with sometimes the passerby just lighter than the background and sometimes darker than the background, like a silhouette. the light and dark patterns, I especially work with a surface, and now for the second point we are going to work with lines. Lines are a wonderful tool to lead the eye, and the second thing we are going to talk about and to focus on when making this thumbnail is composition. When making a thumbnail or a study, you try to simplify the scene to keep only its essence through a few essential lines, usually especially the line between the wall and the pavement, and the kind of skylines between the roofs and the sky. So don't draw anything else. If the composition can work just with these essential lines, you're good to go.
Conceited, shot through her side. She said the lever breaking broke the light. Loaded, hid inside. The undecided caught in dark. So tell me what you're waiting for, what you're waiting for. Tell me what you're waiting for, what you're waiting for. Tell me what you're waiting for, what you're waiting for. Tell me what you're waiting for. I won't ever change my fever conformer. I won't ever change my fever deformer.
Where all these lines to lead the eye and structure the image? I never really noticed. Oh, that's so useful.
Of course, with the perspective, these lines are oblique, and so they are just perfect to give a nice dynamic, whereas vertical or horizontal would be more quiet and more boring. So also try to alternate between these kind of different lines. In order to create a nice dynamic with these lines, a nice thing to do is using the angles of the frame and make some of these lines just reach the corner so that your eye start or finish at this point. Now let's get to the third thing to focus on. It's simplification. Our surroundings are so complicated. The purpose of this kind of simple studies is simplification and trying to get the essence of the subject. So we can do that with the light and darks, with line and composition, as we just said. Then the last step is not spoiling everything with too much details.
No overworking, no overworking. Be brave and stop.
As people say, that's not what you add, that adds some value, that's what you remove. So try to keep this in mind when creating your thumbnails and your studies, and even for your main work. Probably the more your work look like a big thumbnail, the more it will be impactful, because once again this will mean that you didn't let the world get you caught in details, insignificant little windows and everything, but that you just caught the essential to share something strong and something personal and confident about your environment. I'm going to sketch a bit of this view with a nice light and shadow pattern. I like that the shadow shape is really an angle, and with a bell tower in the sun and all this shadow shape, it seems interesting.
We were lost. I can long to see life will fall away.
Next time I would like to talk with you about how to make this kind of thumbnail study when this is not such a wonderful, lovely weather, but more an overcast light. And I would also like to share with you several techniques to make thumbnails, but I guess one step at a time with my video. Thank you so much for watching this one. I really enjoyed to bring you with my creative adventure, and I would like to make a bit more this kind of video where I am just sharing with you my way of seeing the world and trying to see it in a creative way. Happy weekend and see you really soon. Bye.
See you soon.
Love has found a way to leave.